Intelligent Ramblings with your host, Bill Lofton. Co-hosted by Gary Glenn and William Howington, with help from John Cole.
Well, hi there. We're actually live.
All right.
Welcome to Intelligent Ramblings. I'm Bill Lofton, your host, with my co-hosts Gary Glenn, William Howington, and John Cone. Everybody having a fun week or whatnot?
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful Wednesday. Yep.
A wonderful Wednesday.
My grandson turned 10 years old on Sunday, and that's hard. Man.
You're getting old, Gary. That's what it is.
Double figures. He's
Old
in
as
double
shit.
figures now.
You're old as
You
shit.
know that's true. That's it.
I got oak trees, big oak trees in my yard that are younger than you.
No doubt.
No doubt.
I got a tulip poplar that I planted in my backyard when we moved in here. Now it's about twice as high as my house, and you can't reach around it. Two people couldn't reach around it. They locked their hands. Yeah, so I'm old.
Grow fast.
Well, this is called Thoughts on Our World, where the four of us give our opinion on what we think about what's going on. Keep in mind, it's an opinion. We are not fact people. We just kind of give our opinion on what we think. So don't get all worked up if it's not an absolute fact. Well, it looks like Mitch McConnell's your days are numbered. He's 82 years old, longest living Senate leader in history. He's been there since 1985. Quick math.
Wow.
That's 39 years. This guy's been a senator. That's called a career senator.
Oh, yeah.
You think?
He froze up on live TV twice in the last year, and I guess he decided that it was time to go. He's going to serve out his Senate term and retire after his Senate term, whenever that is, like a couple of years, if he doesn't die first.
Well, let's hope
There's
not.
always that chance. Yeah, let's hope not. There's always that chance.
Appreciate
so, Joel,
that.
thank you for being here, and thank you for having Williams back tonight. That's a good thing.
Somebody needs it.
Bill, we just lost you.
Yeah.
McConnell is kind of the glue that holds everybody together in that Senate for the Republicans.
Yeah. And he's been at it a very, very long time. And he remembers the days of the salad days that they had, and now they're kind of in the back, on the back burner. But it's very narrow. That's why you need a coalition of people that can be willing to reach across the aisle in order to get any kind of legislating done.
Yeah, you got to have some bipartisanship there. I don't know what the problem is, why they can't get together. They need to think of the country and not themselves.
Well, I can think of a problem they have. The Republican Party doesn't know which way to go now. And I can say that for the Democrats too. You've got modern Democrats that are cringing at the fringe elements that are out there that are just way to the left. I've said on this show before, I don't know who speaks for me anymore. I'm kind of a centrist, and I vote for Democrats. I vote for Republicans. But there's nobody.
I don't think I vote for any Democrat.
Well, I voted for Democrats along the way.
Yeah, a long time ago, back when they were normal people with moderate ideas, talking about local politics.
It seems that both parties have been hijacked by the fringe elements. The far right and the far left, they make a lot of noise, and a lot of the Republicans are still wanting to appease Donald Trump. Some of them are not. There's a fight.
Joel says
that he'd be fine.
Joel says that McConnell needs to take Chuck Schumer with him on his way out. Might not be a bad thing.
Yeah.
They're Chuck's in his 70s, I think.
Well,
and
another couple of months, I'll be in that club. So, but I'm
Good
not
for
in the
you,
high
Gary.
70s. Yeah, and it stuns me to say things like, "Well, I remember 50 years ago," and I can't.
Excuse me.
But hey, we're all in that boat here on this show.
Oh, yeah. Trying to look up and see how old Schumer is.
Kim is here, and she says she has Joel's back and that they're weeding out the rhinos. So
Yeah, I don't know what that means anymore. I mean, Republicans in name only. I mean, I know what the acronym stands for, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure the Republicans know what Republicans are anymore. I could say probably the same thing for the Democrats too.
true.
You know,
I think all of them are way too focused on party business and towing the party line, and not as focused as they need to be on doing the right thing by the people who voted them into office. But
Bill is having some problems being on. He got outruled by the courts. Trump says Trump got outruled by the courts, has to pay $450 million. I think he's put up some sort of a $100 million guarantee or something in order that the appeals process will play out. Now that's went quickly under appeal when the courts ruled against him. So we'll see how that plays out.
yeah, he offered to put up $100 million of the $454 million in the that didn't meet with approval.
Who does this guy get off fining somebody $454 million? Trump would have to sell real estate in order to pay it. I mean, I look and think about what
I
happened
think
something
they have-
to me.
According,
I think they have.
according,
Go ahead, Gary. I'm sorry.
I'll just say, according to the Donald, he has several $1 billion worth of real estate. So that wouldn't put a dent
Well, that's
in
not
it.
fair. What if something happened to me and they told me I have to sell off my house and stuff to pay the fine? I mean, I don't understand where these fines come from. Who makes up these numbers?
Well, I don't think they're made up. I think they have guidelines based on what the violation is. In his case, he defrauded the state and the city, insurance companies, and lenders, and so they, I guess, apply some formula to figure out how much the fines are.
And John, I'm not sure how all of that is going to play out, and how that is determined. If you and I came into a bank and asked for a loan, we would have to put up some kind of genuine collateral, and they wouldn't the bank investigators look at that?
Absolutely.
I'm not sure how that.
I'm
not sure how all of that.
If you get a mortgage on a new home, they appraise the home, and the bank will only lend. The bank lending, your mortgage is limited by the appraised value of the home.
Yeah, so I don't know how they got away with, if such be the case, with inflating these numbers to such a degree that he supposedly bilked a bunch of people out of money, and I don't know how that went down.
Well, he should have to pay them back.
Yeah, you got to pay them back. Well, and the money that you get would be contingent upon the ability that you would have to pay back. True. So where did their investigation fall short? All of this high finance is just above my pay grade, I think.
Well, apparently it's above the people that lent him money and did all that. But you shouldn't have to pay a fine on top of having to pay it all back. That's not right. And there's nothing in the books that says that there's a number. You just make something up. That's what I'm saying. The whole thing's made up. You know, if you get caught speeding, you're going to pay X amount of dollars. You know, I'm not going to pay $100 for fine for speeding 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, and then you get caught somewhere else and pay $5,000. There's a set limit on what you can pay. It's like when I was in the Army, we had set amounts of punishment we could give. You give 14 days of confinement was the most you could give for certain offenses. So there should be.
Bill says Nikki Haley is going to wait Trump out. Well, we'll see how it all plays out. We've still got a long way to go before nominations get put in play. I guess the default for the Democrats, nobody's even going to challenge Biden. I guess it's hard to challenge a sitting president, even though I don't feel comfortable with Biden in office, really, to tell you the truth.
No. Trump just needs to bite the bullet and ask Haley. I know she said she wouldn't be the vice president, but he needs to smooth things over with her and see if she will be. Otherwise, then you just go on about your business. But she would make a good vice president for Trump, and maybe she would be a good person to keep him from making a fool of himself. Although I don't know if anybody can do that.
That would be a yeoman's task, wouldn't it?
Yeah. He needs somebody to keep it.
He'd still be president if he made some of these outrageous things. I mean, I don't think anybody. The question you always ask when you're voting for somebody with the power of the president of the United States is, am I better off now than I was before?
No, I'm not.
I'm not. I mean, not with inflation. This was really brought home to me how much inflation has hit. I'm going to comment on our trip a little bit later on, but when Jill and I were going up to Pigeon Forge, we stopped in Clayton and ate at a Chick-fil-A. Our bill for lunch was over $25.
Yeah.
And we didn't get a whole bunch. We didn't get a whole lot. This is fast food. $25.
I got a number one today, and it was almost $10. I mean, chicken sandwich, fries, and a drink, $10.
Yep. And you and I, we all went to the University of Georgia, and you guys remember we'd go to Baxter Street, go to the Burger King, get a Whopper fry and a Coke for $1 and a nickel.
Well, I remember going to the pizza place. All you could eat was $2.
Yep.
The pizza, the Village Inn, and the Ponderosa was like $2. And that was a steak and fries and a potato and bread and drink.
Yeah, I remember that very well.
Of course, you got to remember.
I don't know what's
$2 was minimum wage.
Yeah, well, now it's 10 for the most part. What is the minimum wage now, John? It's 8 something, isn't it?
$7. The federal minimum wage is $7.25.
Yeah, that's right, $7.25.
Okay, I was thinking it was a little more than that. I was thinking another $1, but okay. But nobody pays that. Nobody's going to work for that.
No.
$10 is kind of the bare minimum now that anybody's going to get paid for an hour's worth of work. Well, I have seen the fight goes on about what we should do with Ukraine, and should we prop them up in order to keep Russia from expanding? Is that in the interest of the NATO countries and those that are embroiled in that alliance? Or are we going to not do this now and have to pay more down the road if they take Ukraine and have access to all of their very rich mineral rights and so forth?
Yes, we need to prop them up. We need to do everything we can, short of hopefully sending in ground troops. But I don't know what the problem is with Congress trying to get the bill straight. But we need to give them all the arms and food and we can.
Well, aren't they trying to tie it into the border thing? Isn't that the hang up now? Don't they want to tie a bunch of that stuff into? I mean, I'm looking at it very pragmatically. Are we going to have to pay now, or are we going to have to pay more later?
Yeah.
But if we don't
I think
do
the answer is both.
Yeah. Well, The answer is we also need to be encouraging the other people in the NATO alliance, even though the Ukraine is not in NATO, is to pay into helping prop this thing up too. They've got to know that if Putin is allowed to go unchecked here, he's going to have his eyes on something else. These people, it's never enough. These dictatorial, megalomaniac types that think that.
Yeah, Putin needs to go. I don't know how we can get rid of him, but he needs to go.
He's KGB. He was former KGB, and they were basically given carte blanche. It's like having the fictional 00 in the James Bond universe. It's a license to do just about anything you want to do.
I don't know. It's a mess.
It is a mess.
We can't police the whole world, but we need to do something.
I'm a bit concerned too about the fact that there's a whole bunch of people now, and they're not wackos, and they are really looking hard at Israel's hardline stance over in the Middle East.
Motherfucker, figure it out. Move.
Scared me.
Just scared.
Bill's back.
I'm back. The quiet guy. Holy. I pulled out my laptop. Now I'm getting echo.
Well, we don't hear an echo, so keep talking.
You're
All right.
good.
Let's shut this. How's that? That sounds a little bit better.
You sound fine.
Everything I have just died. My camera, which is still working, my mic, which is still on, and none of it's plugged up. And the only way I can do it is jump out. Okay.
You're here now.
How are y'all doing under Trump? Not any damn better.
Well, inflation was down a little bit.
All right,
What are you talking about? How we did under Trump? Oh my gosh, thing was a bed of roses. Inflation was down, gas was down. We would become independent of our own gas problems. 401k was doing good. Stock market was doing good. Everything was doing good until COVID hit, and then that threw a big wrench into it.
Yeah, we all should have gone out.
So the stock market over the last 6 months hasn't been performing well enough, William?
Yeah,
You don't
it's
think
done
25%
all right, but
up for the S&P 500 is not good enough?
yeah,
Seems
I
like
think
it
the
would be.
market's doing
It is
all
for
right.
most everybody else.
Yeah, it's doing all right. I'm not sure Biden has anything to do with that much,
Well,
but
no, they don't. I mean, you can look at the stock market, look at recessions, look over the last 100 years of economic history. That it doesn't matter who's the president; it's the business cycle. And so, in some ways, comparing Trump's term to Biden's term is apples and oranges. I mean, we were on one side of a global pandemic while Trump was in office, and there's that word again, on the other side of one when Biden was in office. The huge impact on everything.
oh yeah, we still haven't recovered from it. We still got jobs out there not being filled.
Well, there's still a lot of people that don't want to work. Talk to the people in the restaurant business, trying to hire people. They're jobs if people want them.
I got something I read about. This is driving me crazy. Maybe if I take half a headphone on, it won't be. Sounds like a echo again. Ukraine is the money laundering asset. Then why Zelensky is holding off election? He wants to keep his money. Well, what we got to do is stop Russia from taking Ukraine, and it's gotten to be a real. It's obviously they're losing. And the reason they're losing is because we're not giving them money. And when they lose, what's going to happen is Russia's going to go to Poland next, or Finland, or Norway, or anybody, Turkey, or anybody else they touch, and they're going to take them, and they're going to take them. You got Putin / Hitler over there, and somebody's got to stop him. And the only people that can do that is us. And right now, we're not getting any support from our Congress or our Senate, and they make me sick.
I think boots would be on the ground if he attacked somebody else. I don't think we'd put up with that.
Oh yeah.
We'd
that
send
would
in
be,
those.
I think that would be the straw.
No, we definitely don't need.
And we're not.
He attacks Poland, and we will have jets flying right there over it, and wiping out those tanks and troops. And the bombers will come in and just carpet bomb the whole shebang. So I'm not worried too much about that. But I don't know why we're sending money to Ukraine. Send them guns and ammo, and send them food and water or whatever they need, but not money, actual cash. What do they need cash for?
Well, we're not sending actual cash to them for the most part. That money is spent here in this country. What we're sending them is out of our stockpiles of ordnance and equipment, and the money goes to ordnance and equipment manufacturers in this country who are rebuilding the stockpile. So there's not a whole. It's not like the whole wad of cash is going to Ukraine. It's not. Most of it is staying here.
That's my fault.
Which in turn was helping stimulate the economy of the defense industry in this country. You make that argument.
All right, I got something we hadn't talked about yet.
All right.
Does the millennial generation, or Gen X, the millennials 47 to 29, Gen X is 28 to 9 years old. Found that off to the Gen X is from age 20 to the millennials age 30. Do they
Repeat
do you
that.
think they're entitled?
Do I
Does
think
the
they
millennial
think they're entitled?
Think they are entitled?
Of course.
Do they think they're entitled? I think they're self-centered. Does that mean they're entitled?
Well,
A lot
their
of them are.
biggest.
I think they're struggling. There we go. I'm back. So I think they're struggling for the most part, and they're discouraged. And when they say, the money just doesn't go as far, they're right. It doesn't go as far as it did when we were the same age. We're all boomers. When we were their age,
bouncing off what John's
things were
saying.
different.
Bouncing off of what John's saying. I looked at a condo that I had in East Cobb when I was the millennials age. And that condo, I paid $500 a month for, which I thought was pretty damn expensive. It was in East Cobb, nice neighborhood, yada, yada. That same location now, and I looked at it today, about 2 hours ago, found it on the map and looked for some condos in that same area, averages $1,526. So they're paying $1,000 a month more from rent than we were paying, which is 3 times as much. But are they making 3 times the money that we were making?
Probably not.
No.
That's just inflation for you. And they think they can live in a $500,000 house, and they're not, and they're living on a $100,000 house salary. And yeah, they think they're entitled to it. I lived in a trailer when I was 29 years old, paying $200 a month, a single wide trailer. It wasn't even a double wide. And I thought I was doing pretty good. Of course, I was on the teacher's salary, but I didn't think I should be living in a $500,000 house at the time. I figured the trailer was about as good as I could do. It was either that or some apartment, and I didn't want to live with a bunch of folks in an apartment. I'd rather live by myself on a piece of land in a trailer. But they want to get the whole hog. I don't know what they're thinking. They want their student loans erased. They want money for that. To live in somewhere nice, and they want $20 to work fast food, $20 an hour.
Well,
Somebody else pipe in. There you go, Bill.
what about this is the influences that they began their lives with? Our lives began pretty. We had Vietnam, but the Columbine school shooting, 1999. Black terrorist attacks on September 11th, 2001. Facebook's birth and the early adoption of social media. The Great Recession. Those all happened when these guys were forming their minds and opinions. That's how they start. That's how their world looked like when they were starting. Do you think that changes people's?
Yes, I think it does.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah. Well, but when we were coming along, we had Vietnam hot, a very, very divisive thing. We came along in the 60s and 70s. That was kind of our formative years. And there was a whole bunch of stuff going on too. So every generation is going to have challenges. What we've done to ourselves is we've isolated ourselves with anti-social media, and people can comment with impunity. I mean, come on. If you said some of the stuff that I read on some of these social media posts, if you said that to my face, I'd probably do my best to kick your ass. But I can say stuff to people that are the country away. In California, there's no repercussions for it. And then we were sitting there looking at this stuff, and I was reading something on the news today about how a whole bunch of schools across the country are really thinking about outlawing cell phones in the class.
Yeah. What'd you do, Bill? You got us echoing.
You're echoing?
Yeah.
Something out. Yeah, we're echoing.
All right. Let me go back to where I was at. Let me see if this.
Well, I agree about having the cell phones out of the class. They can put them in a little baggie at the teacher's desk and get them out to class, and then they can call all they want between classes.
Is that better?
But to have them,
well, a lot of
better.
Yeah, that's better. A lot of the teachers already do something like that. They'll have things that look like, those things that you put your shoes in that you hung over the door.
Right.
They had like a whole bunch of individual little packets, and they come in and they put them in. I got no problem with that. I don't care if they have them as long as they don't have them out. But they've done all kinds of studies about that stuff, and that's what we've done to ourselves. We made ourselves antisocial. I'd rather send you a text than talk to you.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with that.
Well, I don't see any problem with having cell phones.
I wonder.
We didn't have them, but we worked just fine.
You can't be. Yeah, and you can't be tethered to those things 24/7. Some of them are absolutely crippled. It becomes an addiction, a physical addiction, as well as a psychological addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And I can do without. If everybody else would, I could, but nobody else is going to do that. So you need to stay in touch. Huh?
Yeah, but to answer the question, yes, I think they think they're entitled, and I don't know what you can do to change that, but they just need to suck it up and go. That's all I can say. I mean,
That's a term I hadn't heard in a while.
you think about it. We worked for $10 for all night delivering papers back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Till about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, driving around
Sometimes
5,000
past that.
newspapers for $10. And we worked for $2 an hour at the pool, and I worked for $2 an hour at the motel, the Days Inn, and that's kind of you did that, or you didn't make it.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
then
it does
again,
seem like it does seem like we're a lot tougher. We grew up on dirt roads and riding in the back of pickup trucks. And could you imagine children riding around in the back of a pickup truck now? Oh my God, it's so dangerous. We didn't
Against
give
the
a
law.
damn.
Now it wasn't against the law back then.
Yeah.
Oh, it's against the law?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We grew up, in cars without seat belts, and a lot of us survived. I guess we're lucky.
Where's that money going to?
What are you talking about? What we sent to the Ukraine?
No, you're talking about.
Overseeing how the money is spent. I'm sure that.
Is that talking about the
like
Ukraine
Johnny
or
said,
the millennials?
Looks like Kim and
I think
Jay
we're talking about
Johnson are having a private conversation going on here.
Yeah. Well, that's all right.
That's fine. I'm sorry for all the technical issues. Basically, what I did was open up my laptop and pulled it up on that. So I'm looking at two screens now. But I'm thinking about right now would be a good time to go to another portion of our show called Gary Speaks.
All right.
All right. All right. Well, thank you very much. And for this segment, for my time tonight, my little timeout, I'm gonna talk about something that's maybe a little lighter on the plate. Jill and I, my wife Jill and I, my lovely wife Jill, that I've been married to for forever. I'm trying to think now. This coming up this year, it's going to be 48 years. Wow, that's a long time. But in any event, we're just back from a trip to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, to the Oakmont Resort up there. Now, we've been there before, and there's something to be said for being familiar with the place. You get to know the places to go and to shop and to eat and buy groceries and so on, and you start to learn how to get around, and you pick up a few shortcuts. Now, our trip over the mountain from Cherokee to the Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge area was both beautiful and a little bit frightening. You see, it had snowed that day or the day before, and it was still the winter wonderland scenario as we encountered temps around 18 degrees at the top of that mountain. And ice hung from the trees like clear and gossamer veils, and the icicles were crystal stalactites hanging off the rocks. They'd done the salt and gravel thing, but I was still a bit surprised they hadn't closed the road. We did get out a couple of times to snap some pictures, and when we got back on the route, I did my best to stay in the tracks already laid down with the traffic. And once we settled in up in Pigeon Forge, we didn't do a whole lot. I mean, you were kind of past the age of having to be entertained 24/7. We don't need to be entertained all the time. We can entertain ourselves. That's another thing maybe we have over some of the millennials. Now, we did attend church the Sunday at Middle Creek United Methodist Church, and it was a wonderful group of folks who made us feel welcome immediately. One woman in the Sunday school class we attended commented that I reminded her of her brother, to which I responded, "He must be an extremely handsome fellow." Now, towards the end of the service, the preacher sat down at the keyboard and played "Lean on Me," the old Bill Withers song, and I really enjoyed that. It's got a meaning to it if you listen to those lyrics. I also caught a couple of movies at the $5 theater. We saw Argyle and Madam Web, and ladies and gents, you won't miss much if you just wait for the streaming or to see it on some other platform. Although the former was a little bit better than the latter. I guess they were both worth $5. Now, there's a place called the Island, and it's a shopping place, but they do have a lot of other things to do, restaurants and so forth. There's a Margaritaville there. There's a Paula Deen's there. And they've got rides. They got this big, huge Ferris wheel looking thing. And we did what was called a 4D experience. It looks like you're actually in a helicopter or a plane. And the bleachers that you sit in kind of move up and down a little bit. And it looks like you're zooming in and out of various sites. And over the water, somewhere mist would come. We flew against the traffic at Bristol. And it was quite realistic. If you had a tendency toward motion sickness, you might be in trouble. I actually found myself trying to pick my feet up a time or two. It looked surreal. We also binge watched Yellowstone. I think I touched on this a little bit last week. There was a whole lot of lying, cussing, drinking, and killing in those 14 hours. I really don't want to think about what that means for us as a people who be so fascinated with the lives of some very despicable folks. They had a small exercise room, an indoor pool, so I was able to work off a tiny bit of all that food that we ate up there, and we ate some good food. It was a nice time amidst some gorgeous mountain scenery, and we hope to be able to take more trips like it. Now, I said all that to say this. We who are blessed to live in the southeastern United States really don't know how good we've got it. People are leaving the frozen north and the crazy and expensive far west in droves to come live where we are. That's the only explanation I have in a world where Western countries are losing population. That we here in my area of Georgia, we can't build subdivisions and warehouses fast enough. Hollywood comes to Georgia because of tax breaks and the fact that Georgia can pass for a whole lot of different areas of the world. We have mountains in Piedmont, we have flatlands, we have coastal plains, we have rivers, swamps, and ocean beaches. Why do you need to go to Germany when you can find places around here that look a lot like Germany? And I say that as someone who's actually been to Germany and has seen what looked like a deer stand in a field. I live close to Lake Lanier, where many people go on vacation. It's not far from my backyard, but I tend to take it for granted and only go to appreciate and see its serene beauty just every now and then. But then again, don't we as humans do that a lot? Take things for granted. To quote that eminent existential philosopher Joni Mitchell, don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. I'm Gary Glenn. That's my time out.
This webcast is brought to you by William Lofton Photography. They can be found at williamlofton.com. Offering event residential portraiture at williamlofton.com.
Okay, I'm going to try to go really fast, and I'm going to start doing, I'm going to add a little thing this week that I hope to do some of every week. First, I'm going to put up this little bit about three things. So I hope everybody can see this. Three things to go over really quickly. GDP came out this morning. GDP for 2023 came in at 2.5%. The fourth quarter of 2023 came in at 3.2%. The Consumer Confidence Index registered at 106.7 this week, and 110 is a good, robust number. 100 is the baseline, so that gives you some idea of what we're talking about there. The leading economic indicators came in last week, towards the end of the week, and they were down by 0.4%. Essentially unchanged. 6 out of 10 of the indicators were positive. So all those things are good. And I just wanted to put them up really quick. We're going to follow 3 things like this every week. Now on to my topic for this week, which is about NATO. We have talked a lot over the last few weeks about NATO, how it's funded, and it kind of came to a head when Donald Trump made his uninformed remarks about NATO funding and how he would extort protection out of the member countries. So really quick, the origin of NATO is that the idea for NATO began after World War II when several European countries gathered together for protection in the beginning of the Cold War with the Soviet Union. They called themselves the North Atlantic Alliance, and they invited the U.S. to join. The U.S. joined when Congress ratified the NATO Treaty in 1947, and the alliance was renamed NATO. There were a total of 11 countries in NATO at that time. There are now 32 member countries. Sweden joined NATO last week, as a matter of fact, on February 22nd. NATO organization. NATO has a set of rules or articles that bind the member countries together. The articles are really general. The only articles that are specific are Articles 4 and 5. Article 4 says the member nations have to consult with each other in case of an attack. And Article 5 says that an attack on one NATO country is the same as an attack on all of them. NATO has 3 main groups. There's a civilian structure in NATO, which actually is NATO's leadership in the day-to-day operations of NATO. There's a military structure, which is command and control of member operations. NATO has no military forces. They rely totally on the militaries of the member nations. Organizations and agencies are the last main group. They provide support, communications, training for the NATO countries. So NATO funding, how is NATO funded? NATO is funded directly and indirectly through its member countries. NATO is very transparent and makes its financial statements online. I can't stress this enough. If you go to NATO's website, they have decades worth of funding information. So if you want an answer to your question about how much did the U.S. give to NATO over the last 10 years, you can find it there. There's direct funding and there's indirect funding. Those are basically going to run out of time for talking about these, but they're the ways that NATO gets funded. All of the amounts you can find on their website. The 2% guideline was introduced in 2006. Member countries voted to use 2% of GDP. There's that TLA again. 2% of GDP as a defense spending guideline for individual countries. It's not a requirement. It's a guideline. NATO applies a formula based on each country's GDP and military capability to determine who is meeting the guideline or not. In 2014, when Russia invaded Ukraine, and took Crimea, NATO began a program of building up military readiness and stricter implementation of the 2% guideline. In 2024, 18 allies were expected to spend at least 2% of their GDP on defense, a 6-fold increase since 2014, when only 3 allies met the 2% or more guidelines. And I want to point out, this is 2% of your GDP spent on your own country's defense. So you're not giving 2% of your GDP to NATO. You're spending it in your country for the military. Finally, one of the most important things that NATO does is organize and guide military exercises. The military exercises keep the NATO planning, command, and operations prepared and ready to defend member nations. There are 5 major exercises planned for the first 6 months of 2024. One of the exercises, called Steadfast Defender 2024, involves 90,000 soldiers in an exercise from January to June of 2024. So if you want to learn more about NATO, how they're organized, how they're funded, go to nato.int, nato.int. That's their homepage. You can answer a lot of your questions about NATO there. And so that's my little talk. Thank you.
All right, let's start tonight with the phenomenal finish at Atlanta Motor Speedway in the NASCAR Ambetter 400. If you didn't see it, it was a heck of a finish. Daniel Suarez won by 3 thousandths of a second over Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch. They were 3 wide coming into the finish. Can you imagine 400 miles and they end up inches apart, 3 thousandths of a second between first and second place? That's faster than you can blink your eye. Chase Elliott finished 15th after being involved in a wreck late in the race. In college baseball, the Georgia Bulldogs moved to 8-0 on the early season with a 4-3 victory yesterday. This weekend, the Bulldogs will take on Georgia Tech Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Sunday, they'll be at Coolray Field in Gwinnett County at the Gwinnett Stripers game. Used to be the Gwinnett Braves. But at 3 o'clock Sunday, me and Alex are going to that. So hopefully it'll be a good game between Georgia and Georgia Tech. In college tennis, Georgia's longtime tennis coach, Manny Diaz, will step down after coaching 36 years. He had 29 SEC Conference championships, 4 NCAA championships, and 2 indoor national championships. Diaz has played at Georgia from 1972 through 75. He then served as legendary coach Dan McGill's assistant coach for several years before becoming the head coach in 1989. I saw him play at Georgia. He's a heck of a nice guy, and we're going to wish him well after this year. Now let's talk about officials. If you saw the no call in the New York Knicks Detroit Pistons game, you know what I'm talking about. Detroit, who is pitiful, they just won their 8th game last night, had a chance to win the game late, and the Knicks player barreled into the Detroit Piston player who they were going for the ball. Obviously a loose ball foul on the Knicks, but it wasn't called, and the official was standing right there within 3 feet of the play. This incensed Detroit coach Monty Williams, who was livid after the game, and in the post-game interview talked about these kind of calls have got to stop. He feels like they've been going against him all year long, and maybe they have. Talking about the officials, referees and umpires make mistakes. They're only human. As a high school wrestling referee and girls softball and boys baseball umpire, I assure you we're not trying to do a bad job. We're trying to make the best call we can. Of course, we don't make nearly as much money as these professional referees and umpires, but it doesn't matter how much money you make. If you're not doing it for the love of the game, you're not in it for the right reason. Imagine being a teenager sitting in the stands hearing these fans yelling at the umpires or referees. That's one reason why we don't get any new people into the stream of umpiring and refereeing. All of our referees and umpires are old. I mean, we have no young ones in there, and I don't see that we'll get any new ones. That's why we have shortages. I was supposed to do a baseball game the other day by myself, but it got rained out. So if you got somebody that's young, encourage them maybe to go into the field and improve upon it. I'm amazed at the professionalism of these umpires and referees. For what little they get paid, they really do a good job. They study their notes, they study rule books, they go to clinics, they go to meetings, and for the most part, they rarely miss a call. So the next time you're out at a ball game, keep that in mind. And certainly don't ever yell at the kids out there. They're out there to try to have fun. And you being in the stands yelling at umpires, yelling at them, doesn't do anybody any good. Well, that's all I have for now. Have a good time and enjoy your sports out there.
Well, I guess it's my time. Sorry about all the technical snafus tonight. I'll get back to all those chat questions and when we regroup together after my little talk. And this is called Whether or Not. And let's do the weather. Ooh, there's a weather map right over there. Okay, driving blankets to the Pacific Northwest. They're looking 5 to 10 feet of snow up in the Sierras. The rain drenches the West Coast. It's going to fall off. We don't know when, but California's just going to wash away, going to have a big earthquake, and they're just going to go take a lot of liberals with them. Hot, dry, gusty winds fan the wildfires. We talked about that earlier. The size of Rhode Island is the size of that fire right now. Dallas hit 94 degrees in February. Rain, thunderstorms soak the South. That's fine. It's good for the gardens. Get them ready because the gardens are going to be starting in about next couple weeks. Up in the Midwest, they've had unseasonable warm storms and tornadoes. Well, it's not that big an oddity as you would think. If you follow some of the biggest storms that ever happened, a lot of them happened in Missouri and Illinois. So check your history for that because some of the worst storms that have ever gone through this country have gone through that area. Enough on the weather. What I'd like to talk to you about tonight is why does a person hike? I'm an avid hiker. I talked briefly last week or the week before about getting out and doing a little walking, and if you walk a little bit at a time, you can gain a little bit at a time, and just stretch it out to 200 yards the first time, do 400 yards the next time, 800 yards the next time. Don't try to overdo it. Take your time. You can do it. I was a pack and a half a day smoker and started walking and got to the point where I could do a half marathon, which is 13 miles, did it in under 4 hours. That's walking pretty fast. And I did it twice. And then I was like, well, I'm going in circles, so I want to do something else. So I started hiking. I love nature. I love being outside. I love being out in the, with the greenery and the different colors and all that stuff. But why do people hike? Well, I'll give you a couple of good reasons to get out there and hike. It increases happiness. Yeah, it really does. I mean, you're happy to be doing that, but it increases happiness. It increases your serotonin levels, which that's happiness. That's when you're getting that buzz, that high, whatever way you want to get it. Hiking is one way to do it. It's great exercise. There's no doubt about it. If it's up in the mountains or if you're just going around a flat lake, it doesn't matter. You're out exercising, you're hiking. And I'm not talking about carrying a big old heavy pack. I don't do that. I carry a small pack. I'm an in and out hiker. And the premise is I start in the morning, Then I have another car meet me, and I go to that other car. At the end of my hike, I get in the car and go home. I'm not much of a backpacker, and I'm not much of a camper. It improves sleep. I promise you, you go hike 5 or 6 miles, you will want to sleep that night. It improves cardiovascular health. Hiking is a form or cardio exercise that increases your heart and breathing rates. So you're improving your cardio. You want to know how to improve your cardio? Start hiking. It strengthens our bones. It's a weight-bearing exercise, strengthens muscles and connective tissues. It also boosts creativity. That's right. You want to be an artist? Go start hiking. You'll turn into an artist. Well, I'm just kidding. It increases creative thinking and problem-solving abilities. There was a study that took participants on a 4 to 6 day wilderness hike and then tested their creativity. Their scores were 50% higher than before the hike. Social, awesome. Great place to make friends. We have got speaking of social, we've got a Facebook group, Hiking Blue Ridge Mountain Trails. About 170 members, actually about 20 are active hikers. The rest of them are just groupies. But we have a great, we went out last year. 5 of us went to the North Carolina line. 4 of us went and did 3 hikes last year together. So, get your friends and take off and go do a hike. And if you'd like to join our Facebook group, like I said, there's the address right below me. That's Facebook groups, Hiking Blue Ridge Mountain Trails. It's fun. But if you have questions about hiking, we're a good place to find out your answers. People always will respond to any questions you have on hiking if you want to begin. And I guess that's about it for me. And we'll be back in just a second, and we'll regroup and answer some more questions if you got them. Well, we're back for the finishing remarks. I look like I'm staring off in the distance because I got one monitor over here and I got another monitor over here, and so I'm trying to respond. What can I say?
You got too many monitors.
Yeah, got too many monitors.
Yeah, too many irons in the fire.
You need to take a hike.
Okay, here's one. Zelensky is no hero. He's an actor and has misappropriated funds from bills, including buying a yacht. He's a joke. He's a wandering, vile dictator making his people suffer. Wow. Why don't you just say how you really feel?
Yeah.
I will have to disagree with you. I think Zelensky is an absolute hero. Probably one of the most wanted people on the planet. And there's a bunch of people trying to kill him right now. And I don't care how much money you got. If you got people hunting you, to me, that's just not worth it.
No.
To me, it's just not worth it. And
Well,
you can
I
have a
don't know
nice
where he's gonna
yacht.
spend all that money either.
Yeah,
How you gonna spend all that? How you gonna spend all that money if you're dead?
Yeah.
And your country's in shambles.
It won't be long before the Russians take Ukraine if we don't do something about it. And that's absolutely feel that's the that it's right. whether they held up that border bill, which also contained provisions for Israel and for Ukraine. And they're going to lose the war, and it's going to happen soon. And it's going to be Congress's fault.
Well,
Everybody go out and call your congressman and tell them to get on the stick. Call your several
Well,
congressmen,
locally,
senators.
That's a great
congressmen.
idea.
and I know back to sports. I know William's been umpiring a lot. Well, our kids have started it. Our grandkids have started baseball. We got a scrimmage tomorrow night. We've already seen one tournament. So your good friend Jill and me, we're going to be spending a lot of time at the ball field.
Don't be yelling at the umpires.
Don't be yelling at the umpire. Yeah,
And
come
don't
on,
yell
you
at the
know.
kids.
No, they're doing it for fun. And,
Yeah.
and the umpires are doing it for very little pay. Oh, and one more thing. I think I said 48 years for me and Jill. Well, actually, it's more than 50 we've been together. We got married in 1977. So this will be, 47 years
Wow.
come September. Yeah, it's hard. You know, we're all so damn old. We can say things like, well, I remember 50 years ago and mean it.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
Wanted to thank Kim and Joel and everybody, Kenny and Brandon and whoever else spoke up tonight. We appreciate your remarks. Webcast, and please go to Facebook groups, Intelligent Rambling Friends, and we can continue the conversation there. Join our Facebook group, where it's set up to where we can have a conversation with you. You can act, and Allie, you can make remarks known. Follow up. You ask us questions straight to Bill, John, Gary, or William, and all four of us will answer the question directed to us, or we'll give you some more of our opinion. I don't have a problem with that. But I want to thank everybody for being here. And if nobody got anything else to say,
Good night.
No? Good night. It's supper time.
supper time.
I hear you.
I'm like Snoopy.
night,
I heard my
everybody.
supper dish.
Well,
Yeah.
I gotta admit, Allie made some baked chicken tonight, Brussels
Ooh.
sprouts, macaroni and cheese. I huffed it down before I came down here, but I'm gonna tell you what,
Oh,
it
just-
was some
just-
serious food. That girl can cook.
Just hush.
Yeah.
Just hush. I'm gonna
Yeah,
go in
we're
there and
hungry.
scrounge something up, but just hush.
Yeah, me too.
Y'all
All
have
right.
a good week.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
May God bless.